Big H, little h. What begins with H? Hungry horse and hay. Hen in a hat, however unlikely as that seems to someone who owns a chicken. And hooray, hooray. The time has come for you to vote on what I read. Now, for the benefit of any new viewers, and I do have quite a few new subscribers, which is very exciting. Welcome. I might actually reach 1,000 subscribers one day. I'm excited by that. I certainly never expected it. Anyhow, so I have got a very large to-read shelf. I've always had a big to-read shelf. I managed to keep it around about 80 for many years, but then I discovered BookTube and all the enablers in the bookverse. So now my to-read shelf numbers in approximately the 600s. And I find that when I go to the bookshelf to pick up a new book, I am being very much a mood reader. I wander over there and I choose what I want. But I tend to get stuck in a rut. And sometimes I go over there and I find so many things that I want to read that I can't choose. So the ABC challenge is my attempt in 2026 to help with that. I'll pick a selection of authors, beginning with H. You, the viewers, will vote. Just in the comments below, no surveys or anything, about which you like, and discuss. And by the time I've finished my next book, then I will be ready to pick up whichever book you guys have selected and read it. So far, you have very rarely led me astray, and many of the books that you have selected were exceptionally good. At least my bird isn't chewing books at the moment. That's nice. That's good. H was difficult. This is actually the third time I've recorded this video. The first time I just thought I'd show you all of my H's, and there's a couple of dozen. That won't be the case when we reach the I's and the J's. I don't have too many of them. But here we are. We've got realms of it. I'm reading a book at the moment. It's a Norman Spinrad that I will be doing a buddy read and conversation with Ira over SF Words of Wonder about. I've got one more potential buddy read that may or may not happen. And I am reading short stories from Red as Blood by Tanith Lee. And I'll be discussing them with Rob over on Owlspace. Now, because I've already got a book of short stories, I have cut out of the equation a couple of really nice short stories that I actually have. The Book of Frank Herbert and The Worlds of Robert Heinlein. I was actually a bit keen for those, but I can't be doing more than one short story collection at the same time. What I've read for H so far, selected by me, not you, is Aldous Huxley, Brief Candles, and that's enough literature for now, so I've ruled out any other literatures. I've already read one Heinlein, I've already read one Herbert. So I've got a few other things here now. Raymond Harris, Shadows of the White Sun. I know nothing about this author except that it happens to begin with H, and it's on my to-read shelf. Really nice cover that reminds me a fair bit of the cover of the Frank Herbert I just read. And like the Frank Herbert, it's not attributed to anyone. So yes, if you would like me to see me read Shadows of the White Sun, let me know. Veil hangs in the sky like a rosy pearl, but it is indeed a poor, dry planet where people starve and armies devastate whole continents, where superstition thrives and half the year is spent in darkness. And you can pause that and read the rest of it if you really want to, or look for it online. Would you like me to read it? Vote. Now I've got a whole pile, of ones that could be a bit fun. So Simon Hawke has got a number of series, some of which I'm very fond of. One is the Timekeeper series, of which I have, of the 7 of them, I have all of them except for 4. I've read number 1 many times. That's the Ivanhoe Gambit. I've been reading that since I was a teenager. I really liked it. I never realized it was part of a series. I'm collecting them now. The Timekeeper Conspiracy is the second in the series, and I have already read number 5, I think, because it was about Nautilus. It's called The Nautilus Sanction. I couldn't resist. I wanted something marine. What can I say? The Timekeepers, terrorists with time machines, have set in motion a plan to change the course of history and create a temporal split 17th century France will be the stage for their assault upon the time stream, and Captain Lucas Priest has just one chance to stop them, to safeguard the future for mankind. Ooh. Would you like to find out how that goes? Vote. Now, Harry Harrison. I've got a lot of Harry Harrison, and I kind of want to read all of it all at once. But in brief, the three from that huge pile that I've selected are War with Robots, which is one day the tough, dangerous city jobs will be done by robots. I think this is a novel and not short stories. If it's short stories, warn me. I don't want any more short stories. Otherwise, if you want to see War with Robots, vote. In Our Hands, the Stars, also by Harry Harrison. It started in a small way when a test bench disintegrated. Within weeks, it produced a power that could lift man to the stars, and within months, it was the center of a desperate power struggle, with Earth as the prize. Or A Stainless Steel Rat is Born. I've never loved Jim DeGrees, and I'm more than willing to reread them all. So there's two orders in which you can read the Stainless Steel Rat series. One of them is the publication order, in which case the Stainless Steel Rat would be first, and I don't have that anymore, though I did once. But the other is that backdrop thing they do where they write 1, 2, 3, and then they go, I want to write one back in time, so they go back and they write a 1.5. I normally find that very annoying. But by one of those timelines, A Stainless Steel Rat is Born would be the first. And if you would like me to, I'm willing to read it and find out. I don't have the full series. That could be annoying. Okay. John Haldeman, All My Sins Remembered. I like John Haldeman. I only have a couple of his. If I read this, I won't have any more left on the to-read shelf. That's an option too. I also have David Hamilton, The Menaces. Now, this looks like your classic pulpy adventure novel, and I haven't read very many of them recently. But reading it over, it is the new Matt Helm suspense novel, or at least it was new back in whenever this was published. I suspect the 60s. 1968, there you go. Name, Matthew Helm. Codename, Eric. Mission, The Menaces. In a little town on the Mexican coast, a young American woman is under heavy guard by something or other agents. Confidential is over the top of it, so I can't read it. That was smart, right? And under heavy surveillance by Soviet operatives, including Matt Helm's old, possibly mistress, Vadia. The captive woman, blah, 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 can't see under confidential, witnessed a flying saucer. So, yes, it is adventure, but there might be a flying saucer, so it could even be science fiction. If you'd like to find out, get me to read it. I think I read it once, but it was a very long time ago. I've got two more Heinleins that I kind of wouldn't mind reading. I haven't ever read either of these, I'm 90% certain. Citizen of the Galaxy, love that cover. And The Unpleasant Profession of Jonathan Hogue. I've been trying to get around to reading that for a few years. You already have a really large list to choose between, but I'll give you one more. Zena Henderson. I had never heard of her until very recently when I found these three books in a very cheap store. Now, I believe The People No Different Flesh is actually short stories, and if it is, I'm not going to read it. But it's hard to tell. Some internet places say that it's a mashup of expanded short story. Others say that she only wrote short stories. Holding Wonder also does sound like it's individual short stories. But Pilgrimage, the Book of the People, despite not having a back cover, according to the internet, it looks like this is actually a novel. Now, Zenda Henderson was apparently one of the really early female science fiction writers who didn't write under a name that could be interpreted as male. I am keen to read some of her books. It doesn't seem to be happening, but if you would like me to read Pilgrimage, the Story of the People, vote below. That's a lot. That's a lot, and there aren't too many people that vote. So if one of you each votes for one of these, it's going to be difficult. Okay, tell me what you think. Just write comments. Maybe I'll narrow it down and we'll do a second voting. But in the meantime, that's your options for Big H, Little H, what begins with H. Thank you for watching. Thank you in advance for voting. Everyone who votes. Or comments. Just comment about any of these books. If you have read any of these books, let me know. I clearly need something to narrow down the opportunities. I seem to be really indecisive at the moment. Help me out. Have a great day. Read good books.